Hi, guys. Oh man, I can't tell you how excited I am for this conversation with Kacie Carter. Like, really and truly, since we recorded it, I have referenced this with friends, with clients. I keep telling people, wow, I really think you're going to love this episode. Oh, I think there's something in this episode for you. Like, it's really, I think, going to be of service to get to listen to this episode. Kacie is the host of the podcast. I can only speak for myself. She's the founder of the incredible restaurant in Los Angeles, Honey High. She's a nutritionist. You will see in this episode, and this is why I encourage you to listen to her podcast as well, like a wealth of resources, but also has an incredible ability to talk about her personal life in a way that makes other people feel less alone. And, when I started this podcast, it's the kind of conversations that I have with Kacie that I hoped and prayed I would get to have. So I feel really proud of this one. This one feels really special. And I think it's a really, really, really cool conversation about intimacy and about rupture and repair and about being a fallible human and what happens when we make mistakes and what becomes possible when we let people see our ugly bits and the parts of us we feel the most shame around. I just cannot emphasize enough how much I love this conversation and how excited and eager I have been to put this one out into the world. So I can't wait for you guys to listen. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you get as much out of it as I truly believe you will. I certainly have since re-listening to it, I'm like, oh yeah, I need to hear that. I need that reminder like all the time. So yeah, I don't really have that much else to say. If you're watching, you can clearly see I'm once again not in Los Angeles. I'm in New York wearing my Knicks paraphernalia. I'm back on the road. And with that, yeah, enjoy this conversation with Kacie. I could not love it more. Bye.
We're live.
We're live. We're recording.
We're recording?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
This is so crazy.
Isn't this fun?
Well, it's crazy because mine is just me by myself.
What is that like for you?
I don't know. I guess I love voice notes. Like all I do is I leave voice notes.
I mean, same. We have a shared language.
We leave each other voice notes. Yeah. So I think it feels really natural for me to just sit and talk in a weird way, but it is a bit strange to just be like alone in a room talking for an hour and a half. And something that I've noticed that's so interesting, we should dig into this because I would like to explore it more psychologically. Yeah. Like what's the phenomenon?
We can dig in, baby.
We're going to dig in. But like when I have to record something for work, say for example at Honey High, we're working on this like 10-year anniversary video series and we're getting into like all of our values and all of our principles and exploring all of our sourcing and all these things that make us really special that of course I like never really talk about in as much detail as I should. But when I'm filming with my amazing social media person, we have to do 500 takes of it because I'm trying to say something and I've like written a script for it. And then I'm like, oh no, let's try that one again. But then I can do a podcast where I talk for 2 hours straight with no breaks, no edits, no stopping. And there's no problem with that. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, but I relate so much. And I've been thinking about this a lot of like sort of like the relationship I have with each like modality of expression. And this is like such a good thing for you and I to talk about as recovering perfectionists.
I think that's gonna be our entire conversation.
Who are both in the habit of expressing themselves more honestly in the world.
Oh God.
Oh God. I still notice where and how much I want to express right, like, and get it right. And I think there's something like, every time I sit down to do an intro, which is like me by myself. Yesterday I did one. I was like, this one's gonna be so short. Next I know 7 minutes long.
I know.
Like, because once I start, or I feel like I have nothing to say, and then once I really start talking, I'm like, oh, I can talk. I can feel it, and it's shifting. But I notice in these conversations, like, I love you. I know you. I asked you to be on for a reason. Like,
we're just hanging out.
We're just hanging out. Like, you hold so much wisdom. I love the stuff we get to talk about. I think it's like a conversation that will be of service to a lot of people. And of course, I notice where I want to ask you the right questions to elicit the best conversation to how do we, right? Like now because I'm fucking on TikTok and I want to die.
To tell me how that's going.
That's where I'm like, well, I got to have a hook to get people to listen. And I've tried it every which way. And let me tell you, every time I try to do a hook and have it be prescribed.
Fit a mold.
And do it the way you're talking about, like take a bunch of takes to get the right one.
No.
I'm talking, it's like the humbling experience of like 100 views and 2 likes.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I like drive in my car and just say something to the camera and a bunch of people apparently care about it. You know, like.
I know. That's how it is. I don't know. It's maybe that works for some people, but what I keep coming back to is that is not on my curriculum for life. Like I'm not going to get ahead that way. I'm not. And I can also use that as an excuse to not do things, which I think that's an undercurrent that is a little dangerous with perfectionism is like, oh, well, if I can't do it in this one way, then I can't show up at all. You know what I mean? So how do we show up while, do you know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying. And it's something I'm trying to find the line in right now. One of the things that was like for my year, I was like, I really want to have the experience of being diligent, doing things that require me to be brave.
Oh.
Like the 2 things usually live in like separate buckets for me.
Oh my God. That gives me an ick in a way that I know it's true.
Yeah. Cause like, and so much of what feels like the bravest and most vulnerable and scariest for me is to show up like it feels really exposing to like not have it all look good all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
And so,
but even that, can I just throw something in there?
Course.
Because I'm noticing even in this conversation that the knowledge of being like surveilled is sort of, it hovers over me in this way where I'm like, oh, there is something about, I will say maybe one of the reasons why I have not branched yet into like having guests, and I don't even want to do this in a way of beating myself up, but I think it was like
just a noticing
of the way that the process has had to go for me is that when it's just me alone in a room, I'm like blah, 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 blah. It's almost like I am leaving a voice note to a friend. But then when there's like apparatus that makes me realize I'm being like witnessed and I can really witness myself being witnessed, this is getting weird, but you know what I mean? It's amazing how that. And I think about how some people really thrive with that and are like, great, I can spring into action and become more present. I'm so in awe of actors.
Yeah.
Like, how can you study lines, memorize things, get to know a character, and then show up and do all of this in front of so many people who are witnessing you and it's being recorded? That is like true. I'm amazed because I can't, as an ordinary citizen, I'm like, I don't understand that. And yet I think that the message and the moment of this time that we're living in is that it's no longer the rarefied people who are just at the top who are getting their message out. Do you know what I mean? It is a lot more ordinary people.
Yeah.
And I need to hear from ordinary people. I don't just need to hear from aspirational people. So that was pretty tangential, but that is just a thought that I'm having.
No. And I'm following all of it. And don't worry. My job over here is to like track the conversation. You don't have to. No, one thing I will name is because I have an incredible editor, Nikki, that I talk about often. She literally would be lost without her. But I'm taking all the raw files and getting it over to her, and we're really working in collaboration. And I notice, and I'm trying to be with like how much I'll turn once we stop recording, the change in what's the word I'm looking for? Like physical manner, like how we are acting, like how both people, there's like an exhale that happens the minute the recording goes off.
Yeah, definitely.
And really, and I see in myself even where all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, like I'm just so much more
at ease when it's not there.
At ease.
But it's almost like having your phone in your pocket all the time. You know it's there. And then there's something about, oh, I left it at home. I can just be so much more present. And we have to live in this day and age. Like I personally can't throw my phone out the window and not have one. I personally do need to be online for my work. I do need to, and it's like we want to go all or nothing, but there is something about how do we hold this tension and how do we learn to exist within here while still being responsible for ourselves and being aware of our actions and behaviors and like choosing to, do you know what I mean? Like to show up differently.
I know exactly what you mean. And this like goes back to what you just said about acting and also what I was getting at before, which is one, I think as someone who did act and like.
You did?
Oh yeah, dude.
You acted?
I was like the biggest theater kid.
I guess I knew you did theater, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I stopped, but I was like loved to be on a stage.
Oh.
And I think like so much of what I do now is like it. I think if you knew me when I was younger, it makes sense. But if you didn't know me, you're like, oh wow, she's doing a lot of new things. But I'm like, no, girl loves to be. But you're not yourself. There is it's a different thing to be witnessed doing a craft.
Yeah.
Than it is being witnessed like being the most yourself, which has now become this funny like commodity of like how to be witnessed being authentic.
Oh God.
And what I was going to say when we were like originally talking about like perfectionism and diligence and all this stuff is like there's such a funny line between the work can be I just going to show up every week, but and like not be perfect. But then also now starting to be like, okay, what is the difference between perfectionism and being prepared and wanting the conversation to be wonderful? And what is the difference between being witnessed fully authentic and also being like, no, I have discernment of like what is mine and what is for privacy and like how am I going to show up and be more thoughtful in my language because some other people, I am letting go of control of who is going to consume this conversation. So I don't know that there's an answer, but I think that's like the dance that I'm currently in.
Yeah. And something I was thinking about earlier is that like someone I heard once, it was not advice that my parents necessarily gave. They didn't give me. Yeah. I don't think it was this. No one knew that this was coming the way that we live in the world today. But I heard someone say, it says a lot about you when you look at a picture of a group of people, if you look at yourself first. Do you just zoom in instantly on yourself, your face, your expressions, your, a criticism of how you look or how you could look better? Do you look hot or do you not? Like, did you nail that?
Yeah.
How do I look? The perception of self versus can you step back and see the full perspective? Can you take in the moment? And I think, we're really figuring out that tension.
That makes me feel nauseous.
Right? It's really, can I say that I do that?
Yeah,
no. I definitely struggle with.
Same.
But now that I have children, I'm like, I have one child. Whenever I say that, people are like, are you pregnant? I'm like, I don't know why I'm saying I have multiple children, but
I think like having you
when you have one child, you have children,
you have children,
right? Okay.
I think that
now that I have children, I would certainly want to teach him that lesson. I would want, especially now that we know what kind of modern age we're living in, where the presentation of self is so important, or it is something that you might use in your career, or you might, like I never had any idea when I started Honey High that 10 years in, it would be that you have to make practically commercials for your business on social media in order for anyone to see your products.
It's crazy.
Like, what if I'm a Leo. I'm like, I do, as much as I have a lot of challenges with showing up and like being a perfectionist about it and wanting to do it right. And I could have a lot of thoughts about like, I'm not just like a total natural where I just, but I'm like, I never had any clue that was going to be something that was part of my job description and would be in many ways not essential, but for a lot of businesses, like a really important value add.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's just wild. So I think we need to be teaching our kids about stuff like that and about how to have a sense of self, but not have it be, your entire life and your entire focus is of self.
Yeah. And this is like a really beautiful segue into a conversation I want to have as two humans who, safe to say, because you've talked about this so beautifully on your podcast, built sense of selves around
everybody
the perception of how everyone else experienced you and therefore how that made us feel safe inside of ourselves. But the thing that I want to name before we jump there as you said, like, you were like, I can beat myself up for feeling like I'm not the one who, or maybe not beat yourself up, but like that it doesn't,
I can do
that
that
it doesn't
too.
come with ease, that I'm not some,
Yeah.
and I do think that part of why I love your podcast, why I do this, is also that reminder of the term you and I both love, of like the terminal uniqueness, is I think we think everyone else, it's easier for them.
Yeah.
Like, I look at you, I remember you launched your podcast before I launched this, and I was like, oh, Kacie does it with such ease, and I'm so envious of, like, I wish I was the kind of person that could just like do something like that. Meanwhile, I'm like putting all this, and then I reached out to you about it, and then you were like, oh girl, I'm right there with you.
Yeah,
and it's
for
that
sure.
reminder that I think you and I both present in the world.
Yeah.
As well, I can speak for myself, the name of Kacie's podcast. I present in the world as a Leo rising, like much more gregarious and comfortable and confident and easeful in my own expression than actually what's going on inside. And I think my experience of you is the same. And then here we are both thinking like, well, there's other people that do it with such ease.
I had a pretty crazy birth, as I've shared pretty extensively about, and that was my experience. It was insane and a lot of things went wrong. But I'm like, I'm really happy for people when they all go right. That's great. That's so amazing. And also, I have a feeling that a lot more people have a gray area experience, or if it did all go right, it's like just it's luck and not some virtue of like how good you are as a person and how well you followed the rules and how much you did everything right in order to get the outcome that you wanted. And then also, like, who knows what lessons everybody is here to learn, you know? But I know for me, and that is why it was so important for me to call my podcast, I Can Only Speak for Myself, because I didn't want to assume like everybody else's experiences, but I had a feeling that a lot of people would be able to relate.
Yeah.
And maybe even if it's not your direct experience, it would help you to understand other people more. But for me, like, just on that note, my whole life, I think I've had that internal experience. When I look back, I remember such a core memory for me of middle school, which terrorizing time for a teen girl.
I'm like thinking back. I literally just had a new awakening the other day to being like, oh yeah, this thing that happened in the 6th grade to this day,
complex PTSD
still is the thing, like driving a particular car in my life.
Like 1,000%. And I remember I had all these friends, and they loved to make dances. They would make up dances, and they would do. You were that person. You were one of those friends. Sure. But so I actually felt too self-conscious to take part in the dances. I would sit and I would watch and I would cheer. I would do it a little bit, but I don't even know that it was that I couldn't do them. It was that in my head, I was already in 6th grade so worried about, am I going to do this perfectly? What if I screw up? What if I'm not a natural? That I sat out from participating.
Yeah.
And so then I would look at my friends who it seemed so easy for, and they're like, this is so fun, ha ha ha. And I was like, this fills me with shame.
Yeah.
This fills me with shame and self-loathing. This seemingly easy thing is like making up a dance to a TLC song.
Yeah.
You know? And I think it wouldn't be until I was so much later into my adulthood that I would understand like where that came from. And that also maybe other people felt that way. But then also my friends who it did come naturally, they've struggled with other shit.
Well, yeah, as someone who loved to do the dance classes and feel like I have such a return, like I have to really honor the little girl that loved that shit and then became so frozen about, there's other stuff where I was looking around being like, oh my God, I'm petrified and and carry so much shame that this feels harder for me than it does for other people. Yeah. And then I would just quit, this feeling for me of like being like a late bloomer is like all the things all the parts of myself I either like fully cast away, or all the things I wanted to do or places I wanted to engage in life that I pretended I didn't even want because I felt shame that like I was scared to do them or wouldn't be good at them before having not tried, or didn't know how to risk it, or all these things, the proverbial like dancing in front of other people. I was like, well, I just won't dance.
Yeah. And it's so much more embarrassing to want something and not get it. That's the way that all of us perceive it, right? Is like, oh my God, I really want this thing. And what if I die? And that's a very big story, I think I would say, like, historically for me, and just even generationally, of like, let's assume we're not going to get these things, actually, because what if we wanted them and we didn't get them? Like, that's just so horrible. Let's just shut it down before it could even start, before the process could even begin, and that's just so, I don't know. My old therapist said something to me once. It was so beautiful, which is like, a lot of people in this life come and they're born and they sort of just ricochet around like a ping pong, and then they're done, and it was like, lots of stuff happened, but they don't change all that much. And then sometimes people have a lifetime of change and evolution and growth, and you're only responsible for yourself. You're only responsible for your change, evolution, and growth. And I feel that it was my duty in this life to show up and be like, what are these things, and how maybe I'm also starting to learn, the older that I get, that like I might not achieve every single one of them perfectly. Like, it's really easy when you're 20 to assume that every single dream. I used to be obsessed with fulfilling my potential. I talked about it all the time. All that matters is that I get to fulfill my potential. But as a perfectionist, your potential is so high, so stratospheric, so unachievable, that you have to be careful that you're not setting yourself up for a lifetime of constant discontent, because you could always be better.
Well, and also that entire belief is rooted in some core story that I will only be good and worthy if I ascend to this level of perfection and potential, and it becomes this sort of vicious cycle.
Can I tell you a story?
Please.
Which is that I screamed at my son last week. Never done it. Never in my whole 2 years of having him, I've never screamed at him. And I did it. And I was like, that is something I swore I would never do. I would never do it. And I did it. And I'm a human, and it's okay. But I can't even tell you the shame that I felt afterwards, because I had set this goal that I will never be. I realize now, I had set a goal for myself. I will never be a fallible parent.
Yeah.
I will never do anything that I wouldn't have wanted done to me. And that's so, but just in the vein of this conversation, realizing like sometimes these lofty achievements that we set for ourselves are also this benchmark of like, then that's when I will have earned my goodness, my lovability is only then, once I've achieved all of these things. And what happens when we fall short? That's the dark side of perfectionism that I don't think that we talk about. And the dark side of self-improvement and of like, I need to be a better person, is where's the room for being a human who makes mistakes and who fucks up? Because we all do it.
Yeah.
And so it's
so fucking cool that you just said that. No, it's so cool that you just said that, because I think we can talk conceptually about giving ourselves grace to make a mistake. And I think it's so, again, it's such a service to be able to talk specifically and be like, here's this thing I did that I hold shame around, and it's okay.
And it's probably the number one thing in my life, truly, that I was hanging my hat on, as I would never do.
Yeah. And
what do you do then?
Well,
I did a lot of things afterwards, but I think what matters is, being honest about being human.
To me, it always, always, always comes back to like acceptance over improvement.
Yeah.
Like, I think the healing work, the spirit, this is for me and my own experience, is like, I remember being in like situations with friends, and there would be, and I was feeling like disappointment being like, oh, my job is just to manage my expectations better. My job is just to let this person be who they are more. My job is to just become more of some like ascended Buddha.
Yeah, for sure.
And like actually the healing for me and the thing that allows for me to be with like more self-worth and to allow for more intimacy in my life is to go to that friend and be like, yo, dude, you're acting a fool.
Yeah.
Yo, I feel so jealous right now. Yo, I'm so pissed. Like to let myself have, because I was like, I can't be, they're happy. If I'm jealous of their happiness, then I'm a bad friend. It's
Totally.
like, no, like, can I
say I'm scared of a world where that's what we become.
I know, and I'm scared.
And that is maybe one of the like when, you know, older people are like, oh, this generation is totally over therapized. I can understand that criticism in a way. If that's what we devolve into, is that we can no longer have direct conversations where we're allowed to be human. And I think I'm going to speak for myself here, but for me, I spent my whole life feeling like I can't have any conversation with anyone about anything. That's way too scary. But then the overcorrection can become, I can only talk to you. First of all, any improvement from there is good for me in my eyes. And I certainly don't feel that I've like handled every stage of my evolution with perfect grace and dignity in learning to use a voice that I never, ever, ever exercised once until I was like in my mid to late 20s. But yeah, that is a scary future or reality where people only speak to each other from this like not real place, you know, where we can't just tell the truth. But I always think about it like it's the pendulum that has to like radically swing from one side to the next before it comes to rest somewhere in the center. But man, yeah, like can't we just be real with each other eventually?
And I do, and it does scare me, and I think it's like, you know, I see it's like the TikTokification of
for sure,
of all of this stuff. And you know, I talk about how I hate talking about coaching, so I'm like, I'm not gonna give you 5 ways to fix your life because like nothing's fucking broken. But I think it's our relationship. This is my perspective over here, is it's our relationship to the things. We've made decisions and have contexts around, well, that feeling is good and that feeling is bad. Or we weaponize the parts of ourselves that actually make us more human and more magical and more brilliant, because like to be human is like a miraculous thing. And it's only because I've decided that feeling of jealousy is a bad thing to feel that that is limiting my experience versus what happens if I just have like a wider capacity to be with feelings of jealousy or be with feelings of shame or be with feelings of envy or insecurity. Like even I think we can go, oh, well, I just need to not be scared.
Yeah.
Like, well, no. And it's not like I'm going to be scared, but I'm going to just like go do it scared and who cares? Like, no, I actually think it's like, what is my relationship with fear?
Yeah.
And if I can explore that and let myself be scared, usually that's how something can transform and shift.
Well, and something I was thinking about while you were talking is like, speaking of feeling like late to the party, I am almost 39. I'm turning 39 this year. And my core story through until I was 33 and I met my partner, 34, was I'm going to be alone forever. I'm never going to meet anyone. I'm always going to be single. It happens to everybody else. It doesn't happen to me. It's another night of me alone in my bed. It'll always be like this. If there was I say this all the time, but if there was any one thing that I was sure of, it was that it was not going to happen for me. I was so positive about that. And then I did meet my partner, and then I did go on to experience true intimacy, and it fucking blew my mind. And I will tell you why. Because I realized that I had not known true intimacy up until that point, because in all of my relationships, even really close ones, romantic, non-romantic, I realized that I was always editing out the parts of myself. I was bottling up these human parts that you're talking about, the jealousy, the envy, the anger, the fear, and they were just leaking out in all kinds of ways that were corrosive. And what happens is like, that cannot lead to true intimacy. That's not a real friendship. It's not a real relationship if you're not sharing those human parts of yourself, the ugly stuff. You have to learn to share that in order to let that stuff out into the light and learn to work with it within yourself and with another person. And I was so shocked when I realized I actually was not being a very intimate friend. I was not being a very intimate partner because I was completely denying those own parts of myself. And until I made room for them in the relationship, until I made room for them in myself, even before I got with another person. So let's be real. We can rewind it to that because it started before then. But I got to practice it in my relationship. And I realized this isn't contingent upon me being good all the time. And I just think that those elements, if we don't explore them, we don't express them, they're going to explode eventually in some way or another, and I've learned that the hard way.
No, I mean what is the Carl Jung,
until the subconscious is made conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate.
There you go. But it truly is. Sure. And that is what shadow work is. And I remember I've started getting more comfortable talking about God on this podcast. Gus, God, universe, source. But I remember there was a period of time where I literally every morning, my only prayer every day was help me be willing to be more human.
Yeah.
That was it. It wasn't make sure this thing happens or help me do a good job at this thing or help. It was help me be willing to be more human.
Yeah.
Because and you talked so brilliantly earlier, and you've talked a lot about motherhood, and you have for anyone who has not already gathered that Kacie shares her personal stories in a way that are so supportive of other people feeling less alone, and you have a really magical conversation about motherhood and your experience of becoming a mother that I highly recommend you listen to.
Humbled me.
But you were talking about I think it's incumbent upon us to talk to our children, or if you're I'm an aunt and uncle Sophie, depending on which child you're talking to, about how to be with selfdom around how we're perceived. But I think side by side to that is also how we get to be with other people as imperfect full humans.
Yeah, for sure.
Because those two things I think more and more almost go hand in hand. The more we are perceived in the world and perception of self has become so pervasive.
Who isn't experiencing that to some degree, especially now?
Exactly. And how much that's tied to all, I think, again, we can only speak for ourselves, but have it a lot of people feel this way of if I am going to be witnessed and perceived, it has to be, it can feel like I want to die.
Definitely.
To have you see me with not just imperfectly, but with the parts of me that I think I still have stories about, make me a less lovable
definitely
being.
Definitely. And that's the beauty of talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
And it wasn't talked about for so long. And I still can't believe how many people said to me when they listened to my spirit episode, they were that made me so uncomfortable.
Really? I listened to it for the second time this morning and I was fuck, this is why we're friends. I was let's fucking go.
Yeah. I mean, but it's I really understand, because if I had listened to that 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, I would have been whoa, stop it. Don't say that stuff out loud. Don't talk about it. Don't share the ugly things. Don't share the, the insecure things. Don't share the things we've struggled with. No, just keep the lid on it. But I have come to find that I can't live that way. And I've also come to find in this, this rupture that I had with my child, which granted, everyone was we'd traveled for 3 days. We went on a whirlwind trip to New York. He took no naps. We were all so tired.
Yeah.
He was coming down with an illness. It was a very hard day, and it was truly my hardest day of parenting. My nanny had to call out. But the point is, like, I realized, wait, this is actually an opportunity for me to be more human with my child, to give him a more expansive picture of love and of relationship and of humanity than me just being a perfect mom all the time, than me always keeping my cool, which I do most of the time. I truly, like, that was one of the things that up until Monday or Tuesday, I would kind of, I wasn't meaning to, but like brag about even to myself a little bit. Like, well, I get a little short with him sometimes, but I don't scream. But I'm like, no, I screamed. Like I screamed. And now I got to say to him, and I know he's old enough. He can't totally understand, but he did. I was like, and I had to make a lot of phone calls about this, about how to repair with him. Because I felt so the shame of like, I can't believe I did something like that is not aligned with my values. And oh my God. But I had to come to him, and when he got up from his nap, and I just like kneeled down next to him, and I looked him in the eyes and I said, Mommy yelled. Mommy got angry. I'm sorry. You didn't do anything wrong. I love you. That must have been really scary. And like, did I want to say 5 million other things to justify, argue, defend, and explain all the reasons why like that happened? Yes, but I had to just start with that and say, this wasn't your fault, and I love you, and I made a mistake. Yeah. And I'm like, that's a more beautiful thing to model. It felt really bad. It felt one of like the worst things that I've experienced in a long time. But that feels more important to me to model to my child than, oh, I see you're having a hard time, sweetie. Like, I know it's really hard to be tired. Like, which is what I usually do.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, if you don't have your camera on, it's making me cry listening to that. And okay, what is my not curated perfect way of saying the experience I'm having? I had a mom who yelled. I love her. She did the best with the tools she had. I had a mom who yelled, and it really fucked me up.
Yeah, for sure.
And it made me really scared of anger.
Yeah.
And it made me really scared of rupture.
Yeah.
And it made me want to avoid conflict at all cost. Made me learn to use I'm sorry as a manipulation tool to get close again. So I would go say I'm sorry
when she yelled,
When she yelled.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking about the experience you gave your son. Like what I'm thinking, like as the little kid inside of me that was yelled at for probably a lot of really valid reasons, same as you had, of like she was tired, she was over, right?
Yeah.
Like what it would give me now as Sophie the adult if that is what had been modeled to me.
Yeah. Or even if like, what if somebody just said it now?
Well, said it now, but I am thinking about like,
but yeah,
what
to have gotten it then,
because to go back to this conversation of like, life is not perfect and there is friction. Yeah. We are human. Yeah. Is that like, there is actually like, for anger to be something like there will be anger and there will be rupture and there will be things that suck.
Yeah.
And people will make mistakes over and over again to the people and hurt the people they love. Like it is a human experience.
Yeah. I mean, when I tell you, and I just want to say like, thank you for sharing that because I relate. I experienced all of those things and I feel them. And so it was a lot more comfortable for me to be like, well, I'm a person who's never going to do that.
Yeah.
I'm never going to do that to somebody else. No way, not me. And then to do it.
Yeah.
Holy shit. I've never experienced anything like it. It was like something broke inside of my brain where I was like, oh, wait, I'm having to accept myself on a new level now that I'm fallible.
Yeah.
And then how do I not spin into shame, which will only make this relationship with my child worse?
Yep.
And something also that I keep thinking about is how when my son, who's, about to turn 2 in a few weeks, less than a month. Oh my God. But he started getting angry. Like, and I actually hadn't really modeled anger for him at this point. He hasn't really seen it. It just is an intrinsic human emotion. Yeah. So I'm watching him start to explore. He doesn't get what he wants. He throws something across the room. He's like, oh, like I watch him. I see the moment, like the anger, the frustration comes up, and he's like the rage, and then he wants to, and he's so sweet. Like he's a normal 2-year-old. He's not like an angry 2-year-old. These are normal human things. But I'm like, whoa, this is in all of us. And then no one gets any tools to know what to do with it. And I realized what I was doing when he was doing that is I would say, okay, Khalil, I call him Squeaker. All right, Squeak. All right, Squeak, I see you're getting angry. I want you to stomp your foot and say, I'm angry. And I know you want to throw something, but say, I'm angry. And then stomp your foot. And then what do I do when I get angry? I didn't do that. How can I ask him to do something that I'm not modeling?
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
But I also was like, oh, wow, I have to learn to practice this myself before I could possibly ask another person to do it. And how do we, how do we still love ourselves and then love others when they do fuck up? And I think that's such an important part that hopefully our generation is learning. I think it's really starting with us to say, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I shouldn't have done that. This is my part in it. You know, like that's what we can offer to the situation that I think many of us didn't get.
Yeah.
And I get it. It's, you know, you have to see that modeled by a lot of other people and hear about it from other people and hear about it as a concept first, then hear how other people have used it to like possibly be ready to do it yourself.
Yeah. You know, I'm really thinking about the self-rejection that happens, especially if you like, for me, having been someone who like lived so much of my life for others and was like, who do I need to be for you to love me?
Yeah,
and like,
sure.
Yes, control freak, control addict, but like I do think that my deepest addiction is to being liked. Like I'll be whoever you want me to be.
Just
don't go.
Yeah.
And so much, it's all perception, right? Because really it's the parts of myself I don't want to be with. The parts of myself I think make me unlikable or unlovable that I was like, well, I'll just make sure you never see that.
Yeah.
Who am I to know what anyone else wants to be with?
Yeah, for sure.
But it's required, like, the irony is that for me to be able to, I've actually been talking to a lot of people lately about mistakes I've made. I've had a real opportunity to make some like really deep apologies. And at first I was really scared because I think I had to contend with like those last vestiges of like, if I make a mistake, it means I won't be liked.
Yeah.
Like the real shame around like doing something wrong. And for me, it has required, and I'm curious what the experience has been like for you of like, it is because I love myself enough now. It is because I've done enough work around self-acceptance and the parts of myself that I think are ugly and gross and or like at one point did, that I've brought those shadow bits into the light and given them love and space and attention that they never ever got.
Yeah.
That I am now able to go be with other people and say, yeah, dude, I did not like how I showed up. I am so sorry.
I know. Isn't that crazy that doing the thing that you avoid the most is what sets you free?
Yeah.
The thing that would make you the most uncomfortable. I really learned this, and I talked about this on my episode about the mind, because I have OCD. And I don't have like, I need to clean the house a lot OCD. I have like full-blown obsessive compulsive disorder that I had to go to a specialist and do years of therapy for.
Yeah.
And when I met my therapist and he told me the treatment for OCD is to do exposure therapy.
Yeah.
Where you actually face all of the things that you're afraid of and you say, maybe that will happen. I don't know. I'm going to go on with my day. And I was like, no way. That cannot be the way out of this. You're not telling me that that's the way out of this. And I feel so grateful that that was when I was 20 years old that I started that therapy. And I feel so grateful that at such a young age, I got exposed to this idea of like, sometimes you have to go towards the thing that feels really bad, the worst.
Yeah.
Like the wound, the gaping, like terrifying wound in order to get better. And I don't know, life is not easy. It's not, even when you figure all kinds of things out, you're still going to be faced continually with challenges again and again. And I think acclimating ourselves to that process, getting in relationship with the fact that it is going to be uncomfortable is a really important part of this. And we're all going to struggle with that till the very last days of our lives, I imagine, in some way or another, because you have to let go of everything, in the end. But my experience too is that, not all relationships can handle the change either.
No.
When you spent, like we've talked about, we share this experience of really masking our inner selves for so long in order to maintain relationships, because that connection and that love and that wanting to be seen as good and being chosen means we're a good person. When you've done that for so long, it can mean that sometimes your relationships are not as deep as you thought that they were. They can't hold the intensity of like once your full personhood shows up. And that's like not anybody else's fault. I had to really take responsibility for the fact that like I did that. I hid those parts of myself for so long from people. And so when they finally showed up, it wasn't always so pretty and it wasn't always so easy. And sometimes but again, I think that's what I was getting at when I talked about intimacy and just this idea that like true intimacy is not just doing everything together, not just being close and sharing everything, but it's being able to face the really hard shit, say the hard things, that is so beautiful. But like, man, that's this process.
Well, and look, we're talking a lot about rupture and repair, which I do think like conflict is the cost of intimacy. Like you actually can't.
Conflict is the cost of intimacy.
Like truly.
Say it again.
Conflict is the cost of intimacy. And I can now see, and this has primarily been in friendship, which I know is something you and I talk about a lot.
Yeah.
Like I've had some huge ruptures in friendships. And I have some relationships now that have intimacy I could never have imagined exist. Yeah. Because I was willing to tell the truth, to say those things I thought I wasn't allowed to say, to be a more human version of myself, for both of us to take accountability, to tell the truth, to say that all of that. Now I'm like, oh, this is really what intimacy looks. Now I'm like, one of my friends that we had a crazy rupture and repair, currently part of our friendship, because we don't live in the same city anymore, is we text each other all the things we're wanting to lie about or feel embarrassed about every day.
Wow.
As like a way to just be like the most honest and have somewhere to share those bits.
So beautiful.
And like, what a blessing. And I've had some friendships where there has been rupture and the friendship could not.
Yeah.
What the rupture revealed was that relationship required, again, I don't want to like talk for anyone else, but for me, required me to be a version of myself that I was unwilling to be anymore. And I also can have compassion for being like, I want to renegotiate a contract that another human being did not know was like up for renegotiation,
For sure. It's a real switcheroo to someone when you're all of a sudden like, you know what? For this many years, I was this one way and it worked like that. And now I would like to do it differently.
Yeah.
That's really hard. And you know what? I hear about people in marriages having this inflection point a lot. Like whether and many of them who don't get divorced, but who are like, oh, we got to change the rules now. Actually, everything is up for renegotiation. The way that we went into this, but like the only way that you can do that is if you're both willing to bring it all out from the darkness into the light and to put it on the table and to say, and that takes a tremendous amount of self-awareness. It takes a tremendous amount of humility. And that's really difficult when you're caught in the storm of conflict, and I have so much compassion for that, especially when, like you shared, And I relate to this experience of being terrified of conflict, like anger or rupture. I'm like, anything but that.
Yeah.
Please, anything but that. I will make sure I will go to no ends to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But what it does is it just delays an inevitable.
Yeah.
That the rupture is so much worse. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Down the line. And that's just hard-earned wisdom from going through life experiences,
Yeah.
you know? And you talked recently, you said something about like being in the splash zone.
Yeah.
And I keep thinking about that.
I really, when I think about my need to be liked, my hyperfixation and hypervigilance on certain relationships in my life, and talk about making mistakes, like I have really had to look at most of the mistakes I made were not with those people I was obsessing over them liking me. The people I deemed higher than me on the ladder, which I know you've talked about on your podcast too.
Yeah.
And it was all the people that were in the splash zone of those relationships, all the people that were, or in the blast zone, all the people that I had some perception were below me that I wasn't giving any care to because I was so obsessed with maintaining this other relationship at any cost. And that is humbling for me, like that is one of the great things I get to like, we're talking a lot about like what we've struggled with, but I think one of the great like expansive, hopeful, possible things that has come from doing the work that I know we've both done is like, I get to have a lot more care for a lot more relationships too.
Yeah.
It's widened like who I get to have in my life and the kind of relationships I get to have because I'm less like obsessed with maintaining certain ones at any cost.
Yeah. I mean, it's a heavy price to pay. Again, and we don't realize this when you're engaging in this kind of thing every day, like just the upkeep of things. And you're like, there's been certain relationships in my life where I'm like, it's just impossible for me to ever let this go. Like it wouldn't even have come into my mind as an option, to let it go or to change it in any way. And there come these moments where you're like, oh wow, it's renegotiation time, you know? And what we get to live with so much more. It sets everybody free. Like not to just focus on oneself, but everyone. It sets everyone free to no longer be in relationships where like the ground is not clear,
What is the thing you were saying about like, do you look at just yourself in the photograph or do you look at everyone? Like that also goes for the things that aren't working. Like if I am so obsessed with my own, like holding on to this, like I like, it might be what's best for if I widen the lens and look at everything that's happening, it might set this other person free too.
Yeah. And isn't that also love?
Yeah, it is.
That makes me want to cry. That's also love, is to say like, I love you so much that I will let you go. I love you so much that like we came together to learn things together and to grow and to change each other. And now it's time to let each other be set free to become who we need to be because we can't do it anymore together like this in this agreement. Like that is actually a beautiful thing, and that's actually loving, Yeah. And I think that's, but hopefully, I think the point of the work is that I heard this thing once, which I'm sure you've heard as well, but sometimes the relationships that we make in sickness don't survive in health.
Yeah.
And I think that the beauty of doing the work is that you actually get some tools. You get some fucking tools to be able to have more relationships that aren't created in unconscious sickness, if that's what you want to call it. I want to more consider it like ignorance or being early on in the lesson. And that,
or just like the way
wrong.
that
I want to see you.
Just like, or just like, all the stuff we came in with and came by honestly and like then have like had the courage to learn how to do a different way. I also will say, we're talking about the work very abstractly. You have named it on your podcast. I have not named it yet, which I was literally thinking about the other day. I was like, I have never talked about the fact that I work a 12-step program on this podcast.
Yeah.
And it is truly the foundational transformational work of everything. So I'm just naming that, not to have that be a big deal in the conversation, but like we're talking, I always think like, and you're so good at sharing resources.
Well, I think it's about transparency and about resources ultimately, that it's not like there isn't any one right way to do things. I know for me that when I joined 12-step, I always say that it was like a skeleton key. I had tried on all these different things. And they would like move the needle like 2%, 3%. And then I found like the original core, wound for me. And I stuck the key in. Then it was like, oh, wow. Now you're actually going to have access to 50%, 60%, 70%. And I think, like there can be a real, understandably out of total respect, a culture of like a little bit of secrecy around it. Maybe not secrecy is not the right word, but about like deference to the traditions of anonymity. But I do think I've always felt like that. I'm not trying to promote anything to anybody. I'm just being like,
this is
gained access to something that allowed me a framework that actually worked for me. And there might be a different framework for everybody else, but this is what it was for me.
Totally. And
one of the main ones.
I was just telling you too before getting on, before we hit record and weren't being surveilled. But
I feel less surveilled now.
I know.
But the beginning is really
No, but I was saying I just had this like massive awakening where like I was really seeing how much I had siloed off my coaching work from my 12-step work from like other spiritual work I do. And the deeper I go in anything, I'm like, oh, it's all just different like hallways to get to the same place. Totally. And actually I'm having this super cool integration moment of like all the tools I use in coaching being like, oh, that's just the same as it's the same. Really being able to see it as a full circle thing.
Same as all like this concept of all religions being one, like just different arms of the same thing. I think that we can look at this as the exact same sort of a thing. But what matters, I think, most is like finding a like a lineage that aligns with you. And there might be multiples, like I don't, for me, like the work of 12-step is just sort of like the background hum of my life at this point.
Same.
Because it helped me change my perception so much about like what I was here doing that nothing else quite made sense before. But what matters is like finding a lineage that it feels like grounds you and gives you your sense of center. And then you get, and I love anything that gives you the space to be able to, like that's such a caveat for me is I need to have sources in my life that give me the permission to be a full person in whatever ways that I need to be and don't prescribe me. Like I'm just so allergic to dogma, like I'm not, even though some of these things I've like really committed to, I don't consider myself like a convert.
No, and I think the things that have to be present for me are, again, like the self-acceptance over self-improvement. Like, is this giving you more permission to be more human, not a prescriptive way of doing life good or bad?
Yeah.
And I would say the same of coaching, which is always interesting when people are like, okay, so you're going to tell me what to do. I'm like, I am absolutely not going to tell you what to do.
Run from anyone who's going to tell you what to do.
Run from anyone who is going to tell you what to do. Yeah. I think like for me, it is whatever work helps you return to yourself, that helps you rebuild your own sense of self and knowing and intuition so that you can also make choices that are in service of others. And for me, it is truly that like I can't do it alone. That anything like my head is a dangerous place. Should not go there by myself. Like whether that is like fellows in 12-step or having a coach and a partner, I just do think we heal when we are under a compassionate witness.
Yes.
And when we have someone say me too. Oh. And like, I think it is like the thesis of why I do this. And I know the thesis of why you are doing your podcast is like this belief that like when we share our stories, when we're willing to tell the truth, like it is an act of service. Like for me, hearing other people be willing to be more human around me and share things that I thought I wasn't allowed to feel or say, like God, that's all the permission I've ever wanted or needed.
Yeah, which to me, I think before in my life, I felt a pressure to like have all the answers for everyone, even like
Same.
speaking as a nutritionist, when I like had clients, it was like, well, I better be an expert at this and I better know every single detail and every single factoid and then be able to diagnose every single thing that a person has, even though I'm not a doctor, and also be able to give them all the right tools and all. And I actually I started my nutrition coaching practice before I found like this sort of modality that allowed me to see that I'm actually not anybody's higher power and I don't have the answers for everyone. And that really fucked me up, if I'm honest, because I was like, oh my God, I don't know what I am supposed to do if I'm not here to fix and save everyone.
What's
if
my
that's
value?
not my job, what's my value if I'm not here to fix and save
Yeah.
you? And I even felt that way in work at Honey High. It's my job to fix and save the fucking world. It's my job to fix and save Los Angeles and all of the farmers markets and all of my employees and every single person who walks into Honey High and has a meal and public health and the environment. And like the way that I layered that onto everything that I did and the pressure that I carried at all times was so unbelievable. And that is such a Herculean task that no human is here to solve on their own. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
so
I do.
I think like, yeah, I am so much less interested in like prescriptive telling people what to do these days and more into like you said, the sharing of the universal experiences that people can relate to, that people just happen to be a little bit further along in their process, but they're not above you or below you, that allows you to like be inspired. Like, oh, I could have that too. I could grow into that. And I need specific examples from people. I don't need like a abstract, idea about something or like, philosophy about something. I'm like, I need to get it specific and I need to hear these examples. Then I need to see how I could apply that in my own life, or else I don't, because otherwise that is guruifying people. And it is, I don't know. There's a time and a place, of course, for expertise and to stand in the place of the expert of what you know. But I've had to learn a fair amount of humility around that there's because I know I felt so much pressure when I felt that I needed to be that person to everyone and to the world.
Yeah. It's so interesting. We've both picked careers that are sort of like under the guise of being the expert that other people look to for wisdom.
Yeah.
And that's,
we have a lot of it to share, which is great.
You have expertise. I was literally just telling you, I was in like a weekend long. I'm constantly getting better at my job. It's not like I'm sitting there being like, I don't know, you do your thing. Like, no, we have expertise, but it's, there's a tricky also perfectionism that can sneak in when someone goes, here's the philosophy to ascribe to, or here's the way to be a more healed human.
Here's the cure.
Or here's the cure. Or, you said at the beginning when we were talking about like social media, you were like trying to fit into a mold is like not what your curriculum is.
No.
And nor is it mine, as much as I constantly am seduced by that. It is such a beautiful seduction.
Totally. What did I hear recently? I heard people are selling a cure because cures sell.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is, of course, who isn't looking for that? I succumb to it all the time.
If I could write the book, if I had all the answers, I would write the book. And let me tell you, I would be on a boat somewhere donating all my money to things that would save the world. Like, it would not be, like, I wish. I wish I had all the answers. Wouldn't that be nice? Also, I don't wish, because that's not that would make for such a boring. I think that this is the like.
That's the same as me wishing I'm the parent who never ever loses my patience with my kids, never yells, never does anything where I model to my children, I'm actually a human who struggles with things. Oh, I'm working on parts of myself. Oh, but at least I'm aware of them.
No.
And I'm doing it.
Well, and it's like I'm reading this book right now about grief. Shocker. I'm either reading romance or I'm reading about death. It's
you're either reading heated rivalry style books or
like
grief
the
and
spiritual
death.
curriculum of grief and death. No, I am actually, I think, starting a death a book club now too. So it
Amazing.
means I'm going to have
I
a
love
romance
it.
and death
I
book
love
club,
this.
which like
This is great.
very on brand for me.
Yeah, it
but
is.
I was reading this and it's like, we're such a death phobic, grief phobic world.
Oh my God.
And it's
Are you reading Denial of Death?
No, I'm
Because
reading.
that's my husband's favorite book.
Okay, I'm gonna have
Gotta read
I'm gonna have to add it to the book club list.
It's basically all the crazy shit that we do to be in resistance to the fact that we're all gonna die.
Well, the thing that is ironic, that has been my lived experience, I'm reading this book being like, I actually feel like my lived experience is being reflected back to me, is that when we can be with death, loss, annihilation, things falling apart, it is also the thing that allows us to touch our aliveness. It is also the thing that allows us to be in more wonder of like listening to Mozart or the beauty of a sunset or like the experience of being with someone you love. And I think we live in this false narrative that if we absolve ourselves of all these quote unquote bad feelings we wished we didn't have, then we could
just relax and enjoy our lives.
Have the lives of our dreams.
Oh, God.
And I actually think it's like the deeper you are, the wider your capacity is to be with one actually widens your capacity to be with the other.
Yeah. I think, you're making me think of my really dear friend Maya, who passed 3 years ago. You would have loved her. You would have loved her. You guys would have been such kindred spirits. And she died of ovarian cancer at 32 years old. And she was the absolute light and love of the world. And I went to see her, and I don't think she would mind me telling this story because it's really beautiful. But I went to see her when she was home on hospice, maybe a week before she passed. And I remember one of the things, I checked in on her, and it was one of the things she just wanted to do in her last days was to go to Starbucks and get a coffee with her sister. That was it. It was I just want to go and get my latte with my sister and then drink it.
Yeah.
That's these are the little things that matter. And I remember both my husband and I were so beyond floored by that, of the little things that matter in your life, when it all comes down to it. And that being a perfect person and being an infallible person and being a, those are the things.
There's, that's so beautiful. Thanks for sharing that story.
She was
amazing. There's this death doula that I love named Alua Arthur. And she had a TED Talk and then wrote a book called Briefly Perfectly Human. And in her TED Talk, which I made my mom watch. She couldn't really get into it, but I tried. Not me trying to fix my mom's feelings about dying, That's my version of caretaking.
That's what I would have done. Totally.
Let's just be with it.
Totally. Totally.
But she talks about what people say they're gonna miss at the end of their life. And it's I'm gonna miss the feeling of getting into my bed with clean sheets.
Yeah.
And that's the one, there's a long list, but that's the one that I for whatever reason stuck with me. And every time I get in my bed now with clean sheets, I pause and go, oh, how lucky am I to feel how comfortable and cozy this is. What a beautiful sensation that this is that I get to feel. And it's what a miracle that we get to have all these tiny, small human experiences every day.
Well, and I would actually take that even a step further, which is what a miracle that we get to experience conflict and rupture with others.
Yeah.
What a miracle that we get to wrestle with these relationships with ourselves.
There you go.
What a miracle that we get to go through this spectrum if we are so lucky. If we are so lucky to do it.
We are so lucky.
And we don't know, at the risk of saying the most banal thing in the entire world, but we don't know how long we have. My cousin who died at 27 would have turned 36 3 days ago. And her sister and I were just what? She would have been 36. She missed her whole 30s.
Yeah.
She got her 20, not even her whole 20s.
Yeah.
That was it, And I think sometimes in my perfectionism, I'm like, I need to come here and I need to fix myself. I need to be perfect and loved by everyone. Even still, I'm like,
Yeah.
it just changed forms.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I have this right now too.
As
Yeah.
a kid, it was like, I need to be perfect and loved by everyone. So I can't ever be caught doing anything bad, and I can't ever make anyone mad, and I can't ever make anybody mad at me. And I need to apologize to everybody and make sure everything is all right. And so we're never on weird terms. So no ruptures ever happen. And now I'm in this new phase where I've gone up the spiral, but now I'm like, okay, ruptures happen and whatever. Things can be complicated, but like now I need to be the best version of myself that I can possibly become. And that's a beautiful ambition.
Yeah.
But how lucky are we to even be in this human form, getting to experience these hardships and these struggles and these challenges? Because I venture to guess that if you found out that you had 3 hours to live, you would give anything in the world to be like, I would go back to that moment where I yelled at my son and then told him I loved him. And then he went from like sucking on his blankie to like smiling and then jumping up and down in his crib.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, he heard me. Yeah. Like that was so painful. And then it was like the beauty.
Yeah.
And we got to repair.
Yeah.
Or just bickering with someone about something like this, if we seek to sanitize all of our relationships and never have, I don't know, I think we need to learn to like love well, fight well, human well together with respect and with tools. And we only get that by going through life experiences and gaining them. But shit, it's all of it, right?
Yeah. My perfectionism is now this like, I don't want to like have regrets when I die. Like I think I'm so present.
Totally.
It's like now I'm like, okay, well I know that I'm going to die and that life is precious. So am I like precious enough with my life? Am I connected to the source of life the most?
Yeah.
And it's like just a new form of beating myself up when really it's like, like, I don't know, like it doesn't really matter. Like it's I made my coffee this morning. How nice. And like the thing I really thought of, and this is the only time, sometimes I wish I could have my phone only to pull things up like this, but I'll put it in the notes. But there's this incredible excerpt from The Prophet by Khalil Gibran that I talk about a lot.
That's my son's name.
Khalil is also extraordinary child. May I just say, one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. But it's essentially, and I'll butcher it, but it's like the pain is like the shell that holds our understanding, and that actually we get to sit in the wonder of each season of we get to sit in the wonder of spring, but we also get to sit in the wonder of winter. And like, can it all be miraculous? That like, this feeling of joy I'm feeling is so spectacular, but so is this feeling of sorrow.
Totally. Yeah, because we seek to get rid of all of that in our lives. We seek to get rid of all of the pain and the hardship.
Yeah.
But man, I know. Well, one of the reasons we named my son Khalil is because before I had him, I had a miscarriage, and it was so devastating for me. And I just wasn't expecting it. I didn't think it was going to happen to me. I just was like, all my friends, they got pregnant, which is statistically like so unusual, but all my friends who got pregnant like had that baby. And I was like, great, my turn. Okay. And so many things happened to me in my pregnancy that I was like, that's not going to happen to me, and then did. But the miscarriage like really rocked me in this way, because it almost felt like I was owed that child or something. Like in my mind, I realized I was holding on to it. Like, this is my baby. This is my baby that I'm supposed to have. And this is my pregnancy. And this is my, like my experience. And like, how could something have gone so wrong that this was taken from me? Yeah. Which is such an experience that so many women have in across the board in many different ways when it comes to fertility. But yeah, like when I lost that pregnancy, I had to realize like it was never mine. I didn't own it. Like, this is a soul coming through me, and I have to allow what's going to happen. Like, this isn't up to me. And there's such a beautiful passage in The Prophet, in that deep, deep, deep transcends all religions, like spiritual text. And yeah, that was one of the things. It's like, our children are not our children. They don't belong to us.
when we finish, I'm going to show you. I did not know that that's why you named Khalil. When my grandma died, we had to clean out her house. And my mom was already sick. I didn't really have much capacity to be there when we were cleaning out her house. And so I have things. But I didn't spend hours and hours and hours going through. And I went when the house was empty to just say goodbye to it. And I went into the kitchen and there was only one thing still hanging there and no one had touched it. And it's that excerpt from the prophet written in her handwriting. And so I have it framed, hanging on my wall.
I know. I fight this urge inside of me to be like, well, it became popular, and so it's
yeah.
But I'm like, it's unbelievable.
It's a spirit. It's
unbelievable.
There are cliches.
But it gets printed on it's like it gets like live, laugh, loved.
It gets,
but it doesn't deserve that treatment.
This one, when I say it's the passage, I mean it's like a full page written.
Yeah.
I could just talk to you.
I know for
100,000 years.
100,000 years.
This has been like the most special.
Love you.
I love you so much.
You're such a great friend.
You're such a great friend. I am going to ask you 2 questions before we wrap.
Okay.
And I'm also going to tell everyone that they really should. First off, if you live in Los Angeles, go eat at Honey High. It's fucking delicious and incredibly nourishing for your body and your soul. But also to listen to, I can only speak for myself because I think I will go ahead and say that this episode really is such a reflection of your ability to capture and synthesize a human experience and your willingness to share and be honest and vulnerable about your own. And like, if you liked this, there's way more where that came from. So that's my pitch.
Thank you.
To go listen to your pod. I'm curious, of all the Kacies, of all the ages, any moment in time, what Kacie do you want to say something to? And what would you say to her?
It's funny. The most obvious answer would be like, 7-year-old Kacie, you're so great. You're so special. Like, you have a magic light inside of you, and don't listen to anything or anyone that tells you that that's not true, because it's amazing and you're going to find it again and you won't be alone forever. Like, there's this part of me that wants to that would be the most obvious place. But for some reason, and I have no idea what's even going to come out of my mouth right now, so we'll see. But I'm very drawn to speak to, oh God, this is just so me. So fucking me. I also have such a potty mouth. Sorry.
Oh, I swear all the time.
My husband says that when I went in to finally get my epidural after trying to push my baby out at home unmedicated for 5 hours, I was just like cursing like a sailor, and all the like sweet midwives and nurses were like, and I was like, fuck, shit, what the fuck, that was crazy. So I am who I am. But no, okay, here's what I'll say. I would actually go back. For some reason, I want to speak to the Kacie that is like 29 years old, and she's just opened Honey High, and it's taking off. It's soaring. She's feeling like she's really a part of this moment in culture and in life. And there's this, I told you it'd be interesting. There's this feeling that she was having, which is like, I'm finally getting it. Oh, I'm finally getting all the like success and the validation. And, like, they were my hottest years ever. It was so hot back then, and I'm like, it was really like the peak of my maidenhood. And I felt this like freedom and this possibility. And again, I was not yet in 12-step recovery. I had not started I'd been in therapy, but I had not quite really started like unpacking what was underneath. And so on the surface, I was getting all the things that I wanted and that looked really good on paper and that looked really good on social media and that looked really good from the outside. But I would say to her on the inside, this is not the peak for you, actually. I know you think it is, and I know you're going to try to compare everything else to this moment, but this is not the peak for you because this is actually external validation and not internal validation. And what you will go through in the next few years is going to summon you into the dark and into the compost and into the, like the core of the earth where you won't be able to see the light. But like you're going to be so much better for it. You're going to be so much stronger for it. You're going to be so much more you. You're going to be such a better mother and partner. And all of this is everything you're going to get in the future will be possible because you go through that darkness. So don't hang on to the light. Don't hang on to this like comparison this is who I need to get back to.
Yeah.
Because getting back to her, I don't know. I didn't know that was going to come out.
That's the coolest. I think that might be my favorite. No offense to all my other guests. I do think of that one question.
I don't know. Like
that's my favorite answer. And maybe because it's like the answer I would need to say to myself too. But I think that is such a beautiful.
Because
I know that feeling.
Well, and I'm still doing it to be fully transparent. I'm still like, I miss her. She was so fun and bubbly. Yeah. But like, she was not right with herself yet.
Yeah.
On the inside.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know what'll happen in my life later, but I feel that I'm building from a stronger center now, And so it's not fair to hold ourselves to past versions of ourselves that don't have the wisdom that we've gotten by going through very hard experiences. Yeah. That's my answer. I'm sticking to it.
Answer. I love it. Love it so much. Honestly needed to hear it. So thank you.
I need to re-listen to it.
Yeah.
Like once a week.
Guess what? We can clip it and send it to you. We just send it to each other back and forth. Okay, last question. Mm-hmm. What party are you heading to?
I don't know. I think I'm headed to like again, I don't know where these come from. I get visuals. I'm headed to like a really fantastic, lovely, but chill and non-pressurized house party that's more a gathering of many friends and family and children together and like just a hanging out, easeful experience of being together and of making memories and of I'm not headed to a perfectly curated garden party with $10,000 in sponsorship.
Yeah.
As much as I love going to that.
So fun to go to a fancy lady lunch. And the part of me that likes the external validation loves to feel like a fancy lady.
Love to be a fancy lady. Love it. But
not the North Star.
The North Star of the party where I'm going has dirty kids and bare feet and, as my husband would call it, black feet from walking around on the earth with barefoot much and messy dishes and people bringing things, potluck style and just being together and making memories and letting that be enough. I think that's the party I want to go to next.
I hope I'm invited.
You're invited.
I love you so much. What a gift.
We knew it would be good.
We knew it would be
just
fantastic.
a great conversation. How can it not be?
How could it not be?
Thank you.
I love you.
Love you.
Bye. Hey guys, it's Sophie. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Late to the Party. Truly getting to have these conversations and share them with you is such a gift. If something in today's episode resonated, I'd love if you followed the show, left a review, or sent it to a friend who might enjoy it too. That's genuinely how this little thing grows, and I'm so grateful you're here. New episodes drop every other Wednesday. You can find me on socials at @SoForGear, and you can follow the show at @LateToTheParty_pod. A huge thank you to the people who make this show possible. Nikki Stein, my brilliant editor, Nick Murphy, my cousin and honorary producer, branding by Lucy Anderson, also my cousin, photos by my dear friend Olivia Pierce with creative direction by Annie Steele, who happens to be my sister-in-law. This is very much a family affair. I appreciate you being here more than you know. Until next time, you're not late, you're right on time.